Everybody,
No, but
okay, we'll call the meeting to order of the Westport Island Planning Board, May 6th. It's a little after 6. We have a quorum. Demi is on her way. So, we'll go ahead and get started. Mary Ellen distributed the minutes. Everybody just want to look at the minutes. Anybody have any additions, deletions, amendments, changes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve? The quiet group.
so moved. Can I move? Am I an alternate or still?
Well, yeah, I was there, so.
Oh, that's right. All right.
I move.
All right. I'll second. All in favor? All right. Sending.
Gonna send these around, then people to scribble their initials on.
All right. Public comment. We have a number of folks here. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I assume you're here for specific items. If anybody is not, or who is here for a specific item and has a general comment or contribution that's not on the agenda, now is a great time to be heard. Ted? Yes, sir.
Yes. Back to revisit the PBRs and the handling of the PBR applications. For rebuilding of existing structures.
Oh, the rebuilding of the one that was damaged by the weather.
Yeah, or any of them for going forward.
Okay.
We're looking to have the building, building permit filled out, which obviously I would have no problem with, but I think you were talking, you wanted site visits too on top of that, or
At
do
this,
you have a decision you'd like to make going forward to handle these, or?
you mean on the site visits?
On handling the PBRs, and typically what I've done in the past is just done the PBR in the states and the town, of course, now the truncated copy. I've certainly provided a full copy versus the truncated, but I think you were discussing doing site visits too and requiring some more information with the applications.
We're gonna have a conversation about site visits here a little bit later on, so that is up in the air a little bit just because it's on the agenda, may be discussed, but at this point, you've already submitted an application or a permit of some or paperwork of some kind, right?
Right.
You're already at
To the state, not the town.
to the state, okay.
Right.
All we need then is the permit application and then we can take it from there. We'll get it scheduled for a hearing. It may be that we don't need to do anything more than you've already done. I think we just need a piece of paper with the application to log it in and approve it. Assuming that's what we do. But I'm sure we will.
Wait to hear further discussion.
Pardon me?
I'll wait to hear further discussion.
Okay, sounds great, Anybody else? Very good.
I'm gonna step out to do things for a help you for a second.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is the site plan preliminary meeting. I see Bailey's here. And we circulated the information that you provided.
I brought copies too with photos.
Okay. Do you want to take a few minutes and just kind of give us a run through of what you're proposing and do a show and tell with your pictures would be great.
My goodness.
I eliminate everything just for work, so makes it more waterproof. So as everyone's probably noticed, there's a new building on the old G&D property. What I would like to have is a space where I can sell my art, a little whimsy, and fresh flowers. I have parking available out back, plenty of parking. And there's 2 entrances or exits to and from the site that fit the accommodations as far as how wide and such. but I'm not sure what else you need to know.
Just looking at the photographs, it looks like you've already got the building there, right?
Yes, yep,
That you're going to be using for this. You know, I've always been attracted to and visually focused on all the beautiful stuff there, and I never really paid any attention to the road accesses. But you've got a circular entrance and exit now.
yep.
Okay,
There's the setbacks are written on, I think, the last page.
oh yeah, you've got the,
And then I've also discussed too, just although that building is zoned commercially. I have residential neighbors on all sides, and so I've already discussed with all of them to make sure that they're. Not going to feel disturbed or bothered, just, and I actually ran it by them before I even entertained the idea of the building itself.
okay,
And they're all excited.
sounds great. Questions, yeah, and this is, and for everybody's benefit, of course, Bailey's as well, this is just an informal give and take conversation, preliminary to filing a formal application for site review and, questions, yeah, go ahead.
So in that context, some comments about this is a preliminary review. One of the key things was having a diagram, and you actually do have at least a diagram of the layout.
Mhm.
So it's the preliminary sketch of the project. This is one of the basic, first step. And you've got a nice overview of what you want to do with this, but could you just give us some background when you actually do the final report of the overall plan for use, because we don't have we haven't zoned it commercial. It's been used commercially, but none of us ever got done, right? So if you could just maybe talk about what you're doing with the property in a general sense. You're adding this additional building,
Mhm.
but that would be good to give us what's your vision of your business in that location?
Okay,
That would be great.
including the existing structure as well.
Just the business, the structure's there,
Right.
not changing the structure, I
Right.
assume. But it explains what it is you're doing with that property. And give us a view of your vision of your business.
Okay.
Because it's a fantastic. It looks a hell of a lot better than it. Yeah. So that's all great, but that would be part of a site plan review, because we're permitting in the sense.
The visual, the aesthetic.
They're adding the building.
Yep.
I'll use the example, this is going back a few years, of the North End Lobsterman's Co-op. They were an existing operation, but they came into site plan review, because they had a new building. We wanted to put in, but it was in the context of the whole operation. So, same thing, so you've got a great plan, it'll be great to have this additional service,
Mhm.
business. Just the big picture too.
Okay,
So is the parking gonna go behind the big building?
yes,
Okay,
yep,
and the big building will remain your studio?
yes,
Okay, so
Exactly.
the business is really gonna be.
just gonna be limited to that single, exactly.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, looks like fun. Okay, great. I know you're getting oriented to the ordinances.
Yeah. I read through the entire, what's trying to apply, what would apply and what wouldn't.
Well, I think that's an important point. You may have questions about which of those criteria would apply and wouldn't apply. As you know, just going through it, the first touch, you'll see that there's some that obviously don't apply and other things that will. So, as part of your application, you would tell us, these are the things I don't think apply, and you don't have to go into a lot of detail, just identify them, and we'll focus on the ones that you think do apply, and if we have questions about that, you know, we can raise them. Yeah, looks great, I think.
Now, is the application separate from the building permit application?
The
Yes.
building permit application, because you won't be building anything, will you?
No, but it's a new existing
Yeah,
structure.
building permit, that's what
caused me to bring it to your attention.
Okay.
It's a new build, and
Okay,
if it was an accessory structure to the primary business, I could have issued a permit. But
Right.
there's no record of what the primary use is, so that caused me to present it to you.
Yeah.
And get a sense of what's going on.
This is really gas kind of set up to get it set up as a property that's non-residential. And,
Yes.
and this is the use of it.
right.
But part of what we'll also need in that final application, you look at the site plan review ordinance, it lists the kind of the criteria that we have to certify.
Mhm.
No, you're not gonna be using dangerous chemicals. No, there's not gonna be creating a traffic problem.
Right,
So it's a list of things that you wanna at least give us the answers to. So
yeah,
we can do that certification. And that's a lot of what the application's about.
so there is like a physical application that I can fill in and it'll ask the question.
We don't have a form,
Okay,
but we have the questions to answer. What most people have done, they've done like an outline and they've included the pictures.
can you send me the questions that you,
They're in the ordinance.
right, but the ordinances also cover like mobile home parks and campgrounds.
Well, no, the site plan review ordinance, so it's a
Okay.
specific ordinance.
I might not have been able to navigate the site properly, because I was reading about all sorts of ordinances
Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah.
So it was like a 40-page document that I
Yeah,
read.
you go to the ordinances, box or drop down and then, look at those, there'll be a site review, a separate site review ordinance.
Okay, I will.
That's what you're looking for.
There, and you'll see that it has. The whole section of section 6 is the application, what's expected in the application, and the questions that we then have to answer.
Okay,
When we make our determination. So you wanna give us the answers.
right, yeah, no, this is,
Yeah,
as much as I think you're all lovely people, just, want to get going on it, so.
Yeah, go for it. Gary, in terms of the paperwork, this, as she's given you a permit application. Okay, so we just need, site review application, you just type at the top site review application, follow
Okay.
all the instructions. If you have any questions, you can email me or Jeff or April.
Okay,
We can get you focused so that you don't waste a lot of time
good.
just trying to
That's
figure out where to go.
awesome.
Thank you so much. This is
Awesome.
exciting.
Very exciting, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We've got folks here waiting on the other items, so I'm gonna skip number 4. And go to the three new peer doc applications. I assume that's why
Tim,
Tim is here. For the, is that why you're?
we have extra copies of the agenda.
We do,
we have all kinds of copies.
Let's.
Hold on,
Yeah.
coming your way.
this is the agenda. Done with that. Oh, do you, so, John, did you wanna like? I'm wondering if we should discuss process before we discuss the specific ones?
Well, I just wanna, I wanna get the status of it, cause
Okay,
I don't think we have anything in front of us right now.
well, you do,
Oh,
there you go.
okay.
I did email these, I emailed them when I suggested the new process, so that might have gotten lost in the
It's-
lost. And
Okay,
flycatcher delivered
Yeah,
these.
Mr. Chair, that was gonna be my comment too, it seemed logical, perhaps we could discuss the process.
Oh, no, they're
and
on-
I'm happy to
they're
talk about
different.
different projects.
oh, yeah, you know, that,
That's-
and that,
Hold on,
I agree, that does make sense, now that I know that we have applications in hand, but the only thing I saw was that these are coming and I didn't look further down to the attachment, so, okay. So the clock started ticking, right? So 35 days on the application.
This is one package.
there should be 3 separate in that, yes.
Okay, all right. So, with respect to item 5, I guess there were attachments, because I referenced them in my agenda. I just didn't look at them. Okay. All right, very good. Then let's go ahead and talk about the process a little bit. April, I know you put in some time and thought, and it's my understanding that you and folks from Flycatcher have had some conversations about this. So bring us up to speed.
Sure.
What's going on?
So yes, I've heard some murmurings, previously when we did our site visit in January. That our process is a little more burdensome than other towns. And I've kind of wondered why we do it this way. There is a lot to line up. We have to have 2 hearings, we have to notify abutters, we have to run it in the paper, and then we have to have our own formal meetings where we vote on things. So it's a lot, and I couldn't find it in any state ordinances, or MMA manuals, that we do it that way. And then the DEP had also commented when we were talking to them about our ordinances. And I asked them about it. Is this process part of your laws? Why do we have to do it this way? And they're like, oh no, we don't have any requirements, just based on your ordinance. All this comes from your ordinance, if this is what you. More recently, we got these 3 in the mail and I was like, oh no, because that means I have to schedule all these hearings and newspaper ads and everything else, and it would be a lot for 3 at once. So I went ahead and emailed the MMA and said, hey, we do it this way. Do we have to? Do you know where this comes from? I can find it. And they came back and said, no, you do not have to do it that way. We're not sure where it came from. We think what you might have done in the past is tried to combine your basic requirements for pier ramp float applications with a state law that applies to wharves, weirs, and fish traps. And that state statute is where the select board has to weigh in. And that state statute is what requires all the notice and some of the other things we do around our pier ramp float process. They said, based on your ordinance right now, as it's written, all you need to do is you do have to hold select board hearings because our ordinance says so, but there's nothing in state law that requires that. So we could get rid of that. It's sort of a strange extra thing. We do have to have the planning board issue the permit for permanent pier ramp floats, the CEO for temporary ramp floats. And that's pretty much it out of the ordinance. There's no requirement for us to notify abutters. There's no requirement for a site hearing, a site visit, unless we as the permitting authority feel we need a site visit. So all the stance we've been doing, we don't have to do. There may be some things that make sense to hold on to. But basically, at this point, the select board can make their permit decisions at a select board meeting, which they did last night, by the way, just to get it out of the way. They looked at these 3, they're like, okay, they seem fine. They didn't think there were any navigational ingress egress hazards. So they had their vote last night. And what's left to do is for us to do our permitting process here on this board.
So they didn't do a site review
They didn't do a site visit.
or site visit?
They did a review of the packets, the
Yeah.
documentation.
Okay.
And we inherited this hearing format, which we also are not sure where it came from, but probably that state statute that has the select board addressing water issues, navigational water issues. And that is in that state statute. So that's why the MMA thinks we probably got it from there. So they asked those same questions, even though it seems odd for them to ask them,
Yeah.
and voted on it last night.
So, looking at our ordinance, the only thing that we are required to do under the ordinance, is, accept the application, apply the criteria, and make a decision. You're obviously hear from the applicant and the public. Yeah, I had mentioned a couple meetings back that I was curious that I was looking through the ordinances to see where there were references to the site visit and didn't see it. So that's all consistent. Gary, what you have some thoughts on this?
I mean, site visits are generally, in permitting situations helpful. Because you get a good sense of the lay of the land, and you might see things that aren't, obvious in an application. Most, I mean, these guys submit pretty comprehensive application packages. Where, with good photography, you can get a good sense of the site. And probably 99 times out of 100, it would be adequate to make a decision. You might see something on the application that might make you say, well, maybe we better go take a look at this, on site. And I guess you could,
Yeah,
came to that, but, yeah, I mean, I don't see any problem in not having a physical site visit for every single application.
okay. And one of the points you're making, I think, is, for folks, if the homeowner is doing it on their own, kind of feeling their way through the process, and didn't have a kind of, detail in their application, it might be helpful, if not necessary, to actually put some eyes on it, if they didn't have the pictures or all of the detail. Okay, cool. Tim, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
I mean, I guess, thank you. Generically, I mean, I've been a consultant for 27 years and I've worked on projects up and down the whole coast of Maine, New Hampshire and Massachusetts. And there is a varying degree of, the process varies depending on each individual town. For most of the main towns, we don't do site visits for stuff like this. I think, I mean, I agree with Gary. If the application that comes before the town is complete and detailed, you should have enough information. Abutters within 1,000 feet are notified of the project through the process. So usually if there's an issue, we find out about it before the applications even comes down. So they're already notified. And the DEP, for example, the bulk of the work in an application is to satisfy the NRPA process. And 9 times out of 10, DEP doesn't site visit. They really provide, and then their in-house, their GIS or whatever. So I personally feel like the site visits could be reserved for complicated issues, abutter issues. Something jumps out, you're like, hey, this is a resource that I don't think you picked up on, and maybe we ought to report. So those to me are practical reasons for a site visit. Or if it's, if somebody proposes a 150-foot pier, like, all right, we probably ought to look at that. But if it's within some general standards, I think that suits. And on the permit by rule process, that's the same thing. Abutters are notified at the DEP level that someone has applied for the replacement of a structure. And those rules limit it to a replacement. So people aren't coming back and making amendments or changes to that. So that to me feels like a code officer level of effort. Or perhaps even a harbor master. Some forms have a simple form that a copy of the application goes to the CEO and the harbor master. They can look at it and they can do a quick site visit, just say, yeah, this won't have an impact to navigation, check the box.
That's what the select board's been saying. They're like, why are we making rulings about egress and ingress? Why? That seems like a TED thing, so I think it would make a lot more sense.
add?
And then the final piece is most towns, it all happens at one meeting. You submit applications, you go to that one meeting, and you're done at the planning board level. It's not all towns. Kennebunk and Kennebunkport are far outliers of that. It's 3 meetings with them. But most of the smaller communities are
Yeah,
one planning board meeting.
okay. Good questions from the group?
Just a comment again from, and those for some years, there's been very few instances where it was that seemed to be necessary to have a visit. it's been more like a congested area. We had an application, there was a concern about the location of the, the pier and ramps. Recently, there's the neighbors, but there's very few, so I think we used to always talk about this, you know, why we do it, and one of the things that we changed. A couple years ago, is we went to having just one meeting of both the select board and planning board together. So I'm not sure why that wasn't always followed through was more recently. So, but even so, there isn't necessarily, I think my perspective, a need. And particularly when we have excellent paperwork. Just if we wanted to, you can go on your own. And look and ask questions of the applicant.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns from the board? Go ahead.
At this point, because of the way our ordinance is written, we're still gonna be stuck with the select board having to rule on this and the planning board having to rule on it. For anything, including PBR applications, but I think when we consider overhauling the ordinance, it might make sense to pass some of this on to Gary, because we rely on Gary so much. Anyways, not to minimize the work of the planning board, but these are really like enforcement, land use enforcement decisions, it seems to me, and we tend to deal in like ordinances and big picture site plan review, and so it just seems odd for us to weigh in on these land use decisions.
Yeah.
So that's something we could look into in the future.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, obviously we have the ordinances that we have now, we flagged a whole bunch of things that we want to look at, and make, specific recommendations about amending or changing, so. April, if you could add that to the list, add these to the list.
Yeah.
But, yeah, in terms of the board, let's, we can do it by way of motion. I think probably the best way to do it. And what we're talking about it, really is changing a policy that, or
Really practice
practice or policy that a process that we've followed. And hard to say why, but I think there's always been a lot of interest among the board members to go looking at other properties and seeing.
Like the tours.
Yeah, I mean,
Except in January.
Except in January.
Not so much in January.
it really wasn't, it really is a fun part of the job, is to see other properties and particularly the shoreline where you wouldn't otherwise see, so, but that's certainly not a reason to do it. And there sounds like there's several reasons not to do it. So, somebody want to make a motion?
I would make a motion that our new process be to consider pier ramp float applications at regular planning board meetings. Rule on them at those meetings if possible, and only do site visits when we feel like they're called for.
You second that motion? Seconded.
Further discussion, questions? Demi, you came in the middle of this. Do you have any? Other
I've been
questions?
listening on
Oh,
the
good.
Zoom, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, hearing none, we'll, all in favor? All right, it's unanimous. We have a new policy, and with respect to PBRs, we have a new policy.
Well, not yet. We'd have to
Oh,
change the ordinance to
That's right.
actually hand the permitting.
yeah,
to
But
Gary,
in terms-
but
but we don't need a site visit.
not necessarily, unless there's anything.
I just now realized what PBR stands for. I kept thinking professional bull riding.
Perhaps blue ribbon.
Yeah.
Just wasn't calculating, so.
Ever seen it come up with professional bull riding?
Next year. All right, so, yeah, so we're still stuck, Ted, I'm afraid, until we amend the ordinance with having to go through the paperwork, but, I think we just can, and that, as you can assess, it's going to be a paperwork issue. All right, well, then that brings us to item then number 5, the application. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sure about this up sooner, but one of the questions is really the extent to which the harbor minister would want to have visibility to piers and floats in the waterways.
Mhm.
Cause today you wouldn't necessarily know about it, what you're actually doing the work, would you?
Other than I see it posted in the paper, I can read the paper, so.
There you got a copy of the permits if you check them out.
I do. I do, there's nothing there right now.
So you do get informed of these?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
is the harbor master.
Yeah.
And I think that was one thought, it's just that, knowing that you think it's okay, there's no navigation issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing I'll be looking at is just the ingress and egress to the abutting properties and then anything encroaching on navigational channel beyond that, so there's not much else to view on it.
So that was just one question that came partially to the select board on the.
Yeah, I think it would be great. Maybe we can have a little place where you can initial Ted and just be like, I looked at this, it's fine. And it wouldn't necessarily mean a site visit unless you were really concerned or. had a-
I'm not opposed to it, it'd be fine for anybody in the position, it'd be an easy thing for anybody that just has this position to do.
Yeah,
Especially if the plan will want to have somebody put eyes on it. It seems to be pretty straightforward and easy.
Pittsburgh, for example, has a one-page form that's on the website, and you put in the address and the basic information. And then you send that off to the harbor master, so directly to their email, so that they don't have to check their mailbox here in town. And then it's there, and their policy is that the planning board will not issue a decision until the harbor master has returned that form to them.
Sounds like a great idea.
As a result, I pestered the harbor masters, hey, the meeting's tomorrow, come on, get the letter.
That sounds like a good idea. All right, we will, add that to our list.
So you're saying this has to be an ordinance change to do this, because it's written in the ordinance somewhere, and needs to be a town vote on this, or is it just a policy?
This is the
change?
internal.
well, no, to take the permitting authority for pier ramp floats and for PBR applications off of the planning board and hand it to Gary, that's an ordinance change. I think,
But you'd still be doing the permanent peer applications, correct? That would, everything does the seasonal.
right, Gary does the seasonal and we do the permanent. But I mean, I think it would be possible for Gary to do the permanent as well. I know a lot of the PBR applications we get are for permanent, so if we didn't shift that to Gary, then we would still be doing the PBR pier ramp float applications, like we have one today, for example. So I think the idea, if Gary's amenable, would be to shift the permanent pier ramp float permitting just to Gary, since he weighs in anyways. And kind of take it off the planning board, but that's just a thought, I don't know.
But that's something for another day.
Yeah.
We'd have to amend the ordinance to do. that.
Yes, that would, but it's written in the ordinance that criteria that has to be presented to you.
Right.
Either positive finding of facts on.
Right, but I think maybe to ask, I'm not sure actually, Ted, but to ask the harbor master to weigh in. We may need to change the ordinance if we're gonna say you have to get harbor master approval for your pier ramp float application to go through. It seems like we might want that in the ordinance too.
Is the harbor master appointed by the selectmen?
Yes,
So he's a delegate of the select board.
yeah,
Yeah, that's, if they delegated that responsibility to them, that's another way to do it. for
I
sure.
guess I was thinking it would be like. An advisory, right, if the select board and the planning board are stuck with these decisions for at least the next few months or the next year. Then the select board and the planning board could ask the CEO and harbor master to just weigh in an initial, if you think it's okay, and that will help those boards make better decisions. I think that could just be administrative.
To be continued. But yeah, thanks for raising it, and it looks like we're making some progress. With respect to the applications in front of us, we have the 3 applications. There's a lot of stuff here, and I know I won't have time to do it justice. But I'll be guided by a sense of the board as to whether you want to address these tonight, or put them over. Tim, what's your client's schedule with respect to construction, or can they wait till our next meeting, or if we had a special meeting to address
I mean,
these?
if I were to ask any of the clients, they would certainly love to be in the water as quickly as possible.
I understand that part of it, from your construction perspective, where are you?
Yeah, I would say that the one permit by rule, which is for Craig. That application, again, it's just a simple replacement of an existing structure. So the contractor would love to get going on that one because it's quick and easy and ready to go. The other big one would be for Fife. That's the other application before you. The Department of Environmental Protection probably being recorded, so
You are.
they still have a backlog of work and are short staffed. So some projects have fallen behind. This one in particular has sat before the department untouched for close to a year. When I brought it to their attention, they very quickly jumped on it and issued a permit. So this one is, Fife in particular, is extremely far behind.
Okay. Members of the board, what's your pleasure? As I say, there's a lot of good stuff to look at here and read through. I'd like to give it its due. I'd be happy to schedule a special meeting sometime in the next couple weeks if you all would like to do that, or we could try to address an alternate. What do you all think?
Well, we have a meeting next Wednesday.
You rescheduled,
This is that meeting.
this is that meeting, yeah. I mean, but we could use
Okay.
that same time if people have kept it open on their calendars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we could make it a short meeting, obviously. We could
Mhm.
probably, if everybody does their homework, we could probably do it in 15-20 minutes.
Mhm.
Why don't we do that?
The one thing I noticed, and maybe it's just missing in this packet, is there a missing pier permit for the Fife? I just didn't see that, the West Portland.
Three separate packets.
Yeah, on the Fife packet, I was wondering if there was a pier permit from Westport Island on that one.
Which permit were you?
Five.
Yeah, but which? So the building permit was?
So the one, yeah, the one that looks like this one.
Yes. Anything probably just wasn't attached to the PDF, that was.
Oh, okay.
The select board was pawing through one of your packets last night, so it's possible. It got rearranged.
All right. Tim, if you don't mind, and obviously you could appear by Zoom if we had any questions. But I think it'd be better to give everybody a chance to look at it. Really appreciate that you had them available, but if we could have until next week to get back to you.
These, when were these? These were submitted to the town a little while ago, right?
Sorry, I don't have the physical ones in front of me. April 27th is the date that they were
They're
submitted.
all recipes to, I mean, that section, you know, it's not, I'm only here.
I'm just looking at one. I'm looking at the Fife one.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at all of them, but they all came at the same time in a big folder, so I think it was all April 27th.
I mean, whatever the board needs.
All right, appreciate it. Obviously, you played a big part in streamlining our process from here on, so appreciate that. And if, I guess you can look at it, the investment that you made tonight will pay off in the future.
There we
6 o'clock,
May 13th, next Wednesday.
yeah, 6 o'clock, and obviously,
I don't know.
you're welcome by Zoom. I don't anticipate it lasting more than 15-20 minutes. And I guess to help expedite it a little bit, if anyone has specific questions like Debbie did, if anybody has specific questions, go ahead and address them to, the contact, I guess Ellie would be. his
Ellie and
name.
myself, yeah, either Ellie
Okay.
Flycatcher or Tim Flycatcher.
And if you do that, if you ask him any specific question, just make sure you copy the rest of us.
Okay.
No conversation,
That was the
obviously.
only thing that I saw that
Okay.
was maybe missing, and it might be because it's floating around back there, because you made these copies.
No, Flycatcher dropped them off and I'm
Okay.
looking at the scanned in copy of the Fife application and I don't see a town
Permit.
permit.
Yeah, it was probably just a mistake and not attached.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
But I will.
But again, if anybody has any specific questions about the application of any kind, go ahead and email him directly or Ellie. Copy everybody else, but we won't discuss it until next week.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else, any other comments, questions? Okay, very good. Thank you. Making our jobs easier. Okay, items 5 and 6. Ms. Gallagher,
Yes.
why don't we jump to your items since you're here? And we have, what I've been referring to as the pesticide ordinance that, we've, talked about, discussed, a little bit along the way. What I would propose to do is, address that now in our agenda as a specific item. And the question being whether or not we want to consider, approving that for, not approving it, for voting to recommend that the select board place it on as a warrant item for the town meeting.
Did we get a copy of the latest draft? I emailed everybody today and I printed it out, so. I took John and Susan and Demi's proposals and kind of, brutally edited them down into what would be more like amendments to the existing ordinance. Because you all did a great job of like drafting the enforcement and everything else, but we already have an enforcement section, so I don't want to create new rules for Gary to follow than his current system. So I just tried to eliminate redundancy. Did you see that email today, Susan?
I did.
You did, okay.
Yeah, so, there's a couple of, points I wanted to make.
Make them in a copy.
Yeah.
But I'll let you finish.
Thanks, guys. Take care, Ted.
Thank you.
I'll let you finish talking for people.
I
So
think-
let's just focus on, the pesticide ordinance, which is being circulated. And, I'll entertain a motion in a minute, but the focus now would be on the ordinance and, an eye toward, putting it before the board on a motion to approve
So,
recommendation. So go ahead.
yeah, so, so the way that this is worded, synthetic pesticides or herbicides, it should just be worded synthetic pesticides and remove or herbicides, because, herbicides are pesticides. So they're considered
One thing,
yeah.
even shorter, love it.
Yeah, so. Yeah, the other, I don't know, so when we're talking about synthetic pesticides. There may be, if this is all our, town citizens are gonna see. It may, I'm torn on this, by putting in. By whether or not we should add the more common pesticides, because they're. In the ordinance that I wrote, I had, listed out the more common pesticides that are used, so, and I just think. It just adds a little more depth to it, a little gives our citizens a little more information, so that they'll really understand that if. That's what we're trying to eliminate. And the only other, so I wrote in my ordinance, glyphosate. Neonicotinoids, 2D. Or I can't even say these things are so awful.
I call it Roundup.
Pyrethrins are in there, they are synthetic pesticides, they're not as harmful, but and any EPA restricted use product, I didn't know if we should leave some of that information in there or not, I mean, it's up to you, or whatever you wanna vote on.
Oh, I see.
I'm okay either way, I just wanted to point it out. The other point I wanted to make was, that this would exclude, so it has an exclusion statement for residential properties, so residents can use whatever they want and they can hire whoever they want to use whatever they want, but any businesses on the island, including Bailey Bartlett, who's just here, or the tar box, they will be prohibited from using any of these synthetic pesticides, so it's just something I wanna make sure that is all being considered before we move ahead with this.
But I think you were saying if a business was applying it to a residential.
Right.
A residence, then that would be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but for non-residential properties.
Oh, like Bailey's property.
Yeah, they
I see.
will not be able to use synthetic pesticides, so.
Mhm.
And I did actually run this by, I think I told you the last time I was here, I ran this by Kyle DePietro, and he thought it was great. He's an organic farmer, so he's all good with it, but we probably maybe, I don't know how many businesses there are on the island, or how many non-residential. I mean, a lot of businesses on the island are on residential properties, so they wouldn't have to worry about it, but are there a lot of non-residential? No, so probably not a concern. I just wanted to make these points, so.
My question would be, where do preserves fall, right? Cause that's where you first saw it and where it first like came to your attention, it was it being used on a kelp property.
Yeah,
So what is a kelp property considered? Is it commercial, is it residential, or is it something else?
Good point.
So Susan had written originally in her ordinance. Commercial use of any synthetic pesticide or herbicide is prohibited within the limits of Westport Island, etc. And she had defined commercial below. I changed commercial to non-residential because we already have commercial defined in our definitions, and it's different than what Susan had put in here. So I didn't want to introduce two conflicting definitions. And I felt that non-residential would be a better catch-all for everything that Susan's trying to capture, right? Because commercial kind of gives you you had defined it as including kelp, but I think the layperson would say, oh, commercial is a business, right? So I thought non-residential might be a better term to use to encompass both companies and nonprofits and governmental and all the things you were trying to kind of stuff into a commercial definition.
Yeah.
We also, and this is a problem in our ordinances, we struggle with non-residential. We have to apply that a lot and it isn't defined in our ordinance. But I think it's better than adding a definition of commercial that's a little bit forced and would conflict with what's already in our definitions section. So that's why I did that.
yeah, so kelp is non-residential, that would fall into that, so
Okay,
that's,
gotcha.
yeah, okay.
So is this ordinance only applying to non-residential properties then? And is that what your intent was? Like, is that what you wanted or?
Yes, it would be really good to have it cover the whole island, but, as Gary pointed out early on, it would be very difficult to enforce.
Yeah.
I think, you know, we can move forward with this as it is and, do some kind of workshop over the summer to get information out there to our citizens and then maybe try to move forward with passing an ordinance for the whole island eventually.
I agree with that, and I think that falls in line with what we wanted to do post-water study, right, to protect the water. So that falls in line with also us educating people about their septic systems and everything like that, and then also what you're putting into the ground leaches into the ground
Yeah,
water.
yeah, it definitely does, yeah.
Um,
Go ahead, Jeff.
Just, thinking about this, yeah, I think the big benefit is gonna be when residential folks don't use, the products, but that is, as you said, education, but thinking just, synthetic pesticide, I liked how you identified, products. The trouble about this term that's that broad is I'm not sure there's some good stuff out there which happens to be synthetic.
Well, pyrethrins are synthetic and they're not bad, you know, they don't cause harm, so it would be eliminating that. It's just very difficult to you'd have to write every single
Yeah.
pesticide out there if you were gonna try to eliminate, if you were gonna try to include, allow any that aren't harmful.
But is there, I mean, I think some things are in terms of the, you know, synthetics that incorporate these chemicals, which again is a problem because maybe new ones down the road, but at least it would be
Right.
specific to things that we knew were harmful. That's my qualm is just that it's a very broad term. And that it could incorporate things that we wouldn't necessarily want to prohibit.
Why wouldn't we want to?
Susan, I was just gonna say, I think it would be a good idea to add, you have a definition in here for synthetic pesticides that I had kind of crossed out because I thought, well, we've sort of defined it by talking about it already up there, but on second glance, we could add that to our definitions section at the end of the ordinance. So
Yeah,
that,
that's what I was
yeah,
talking, yeah.
and then,
That would address my concern.
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
The problem with, like, the other problem with synthetic pesticides is, there's actually one that I've been using that has been touted as fine, okay, doesn't hurt anything. Well, now I'm reading about it and finding out that there could be forever chemicals in it, so if you're using synthetic pesticides, there's probably always gonna be a risk, if they're not finding anything wrong with it now, they'll probably find something wrong with it later, you know, so I've actually gone completely organic with now, I'm just not,
Right on.
yeah, so.
Back to weed picking.
Yeah, get some lasers, the new laser technology, yeah.
Okay, do we have a final version that we can,
Yes, I think so. So Susan, I crossed out or herbicide.
Okay.
And we're gonna add the definition of synthetic pesticides to the definition section of the ordinance. Are you okay? I'll read the statement out loud. Non-residential use of any synthetic pesticide is prohibited within the limits of Westport Island, except when used by state or federal authorities during a formally declared public health emergency with prior written approval of the Westport Island Select Board.
then the definition?
And then the definition, is synthetic pesticide. I'm gonna take out or herbicide as well in the definition. Synthetic,
Ask why are we taking out herbicide and what is the?
Because, the definition, herbicides are included in the definition of
Gotcha.
pesticide.
Okay, sorry.
no worries. Synthetic pesticide means any pesticide whose active ingredient is chemically synthesized, including but not limited to glyphosate, neonicotinoids, 2,4-D, oh God, I'm having the same problem. Chlorpyrifos, atrazine, organophosphates, carbamates, erythroids, and any EPA restricted use product. This term excludes EPA minimum risk pesticides. There's a citation, 40 CFR 152.225F, organic approved biopesticides and microbial pesticides.
And I recommend the suggestion that where you written it says any synthetic pesticides as defined in the definitions, something for that wording. Include that.
Oh, you mean in the main statement up
Yeah.
above? Okay. Hold on.
See definition or something.
Any synthetic pesticide as defined.
Yep, something like that.
As defined, do we have to reference the section or anything? As defined herein, what's the like statutory language?
As defined below.
Right, but it'll be way below.
Oh,
It'll be in the
That's the
definition
definition.
section. Yes. As defined in section, is it 17? Well, it's gonna vary depending on the ordinance, so I'll just put a blank in, but as defined in section blank,
Okay.
because we need to put it in both ordinances, because we have the two, and they have different numbering, is prohibited within the limits of Westport Island. Okay.
But when you do that, does that make it, any of this process pesticides
Mhm.
change or included or added to it? All we have to do is just change the definition at that point.
Yes, if we want to adjust what we want to include in that.
Right.
Yep.
Thanks.
Is any one of those listed items otherwise known as Roundup?
Yeah, yeah, like you say.
Okay,
Yeah.
why don't we say that in the definitions?
There's a different section where Susan had listed out like brand names. It's a little more casual. My sense is it's kind of casual for an ordinance, but what do you think,
If you have glyphosate in there, that's the main ingredient in Roundup, so I think that should cover it.
My thought was, parentheses, i.e. Roundup. Because I think most folks are gonna look at this and say, doesn't apply to me. When they say Roundup,
Okay,
Oh, okay, yeah. That's
Although it doesn't
good
apply
point.
to most residences, so professionals would
Yeah.
certainly know,
mhm.
Yeah.
they should.
I mean, I would say EG, right? For example, not in other,
Every common
Yeah.
name.
either one.
Roundup, Rodeo, Accord is what Susan had listed.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, yeah, Nick's points would, I guess. It'll make a lot more sense to folks when we present it at the town meeting,
Mhm.
if we're saying, hey, this is about Roundup, so, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I appreciate a lot of the commentary you put in here, Susan. I think use that at town meeting, right? Like that's your sort of presentation. I don't think it belongs in the ordinance per se, but like you've made your
Right.
case.
Yeah,
And so that's your presentation.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Excited. Can I move in? Am I still, I'm an alternate now, right?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
officially.
I'm out. No, never mind. I don't.
I move, what April said.
I second.
All right, any further discussion, questions?
I didn't actually finish saying it, so I probably should, so we have a motion. I motion that we accept Susan's proposal as amended at this meeting to recommend that the select board place on the warrant.
Sure.
Okay, that's Jeff's motion. and Debbie's
Seconded.
second.
As amended and clarified, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Good job, Susan, thank you so much, thank you for your patience.
No, I don't like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, well, we can.
There's been a lot of, I've been seeing back in the Cape areas that are really struggling with ticks now. They're doing the same thing with the spraying for the ticks and in the watershed areas, so
Yeah,
maybe that's nice.
yeah.
Good deal.
All
Thank
right,
you, Susan.
thank you very much, everybody.
Nick, are you ready to give us a dog and pony show?
I am, that's
Well,
where we wanna go.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is we missed hearing from Nick week or two ago.
We'll see you guys.
Thanks so much.
Well, we are meeting again next week, so, so the question is whether that takes priority over the other things that we want to deal with.
Well,
And I'd
I
like to
think-
hear more about.
yeah, I mean,
Oh,
um,
thanks. That is fun.
I guess, well, let me ask it this way, since you're raising the question, how long?
Well,
Is your present?
don't ask any questions.
You didn't ask any questions, you just had a,
I can give you a thumbnail very quickly.
yeah. I'd like to do that just because I think it may weigh, it may have some weight in our next discussion about what are we gonna do next.
Okay.
Yeah,
If I get down into the weeds,
yeah. Give us,
I'll reference, that can get much more complicated.
yeah, because I mean, I know it'll help me, because I had an understanding as to where we were on the mapping. And I don't think that's an accurate understanding anymore, so, it'll help me at any rate.
I just want to clarify, are we gonna vote on Demi's proposal for the setbacks and your proposal for the wells this evening?
We're gonna talk about whether we're gonna do that.
Okay,
You know what?
I'm not,
No,
I don't
we're-
have a burning fire in my belly for the shop.
Because this is kind of last chance to get it on the draft warrant, so I don't want to miss it, that's all.
I'm going to be here for this year's town meeting, so I can't speak to it.
I see.
Yeah, we'll be
Okay.
in Ireland.
So you want to push it on hearing?
If everybody think that's okay and we're okay with waiting to do that.
You suggested before that you weren't gonna be able to be there, so.
Yeah.
We'll defer to you.
I'm not there to speak to it or defend it, so I'll push it till next day.
All right, Nick, you're on.
All right, just briefly to sketch it out, the shoreline zone statute is essentially a geographic statute. And it has to be because its objective is to protect the waters, the fisheries, but also the groundwater and rivers, and by extension, some of the riparian habitats that are covered. So it ignores property lines and roads and all of that, and it's just based on the geography. With some additions for slope and stuff like that, but primarily geography. So the ruling item in the shoreline statute is the official shoreline map. The ordinances do not guide the map guides the ordinances. We're supposed to. Our issue as we started looking into it in this, well, first of all, this is the online tax map with the shoreline zone depicted, as we say. People assume this is the official shoreline zone map. But if Flycatcher uses it in their applications, it isn't. We didn't even know we had an official shoreline zone map for a long time. April finally found it at the DEP.
It makes, well, thank you.
Goes over buffer.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's 30 years old, it's black and white, it's printed, it's very hard to read. April color coded it, makes it a little bit easier to read. But we have a kind of a threefold problem here, is that the ordinance description of the shoreline zone doesn't match our tax map. Even though people assume it does. Neither of them matches the official shoreline zone map. And the official shoreline zone map is no longer in accordance with the statutes as they stand. So, the objective was to try to figure out how to revise the official shoreline zone map without significantly changing what our ordinances currently describe. And that's the weeds that I won't get into right now, but the statute's pretty straightforward. Everything in the statute about what's supposed to be included is defined. But there's a lot of wiggle room in the definitions. And that's where it can get really complicated. Here they are. I'm not gonna go through the definitions, but they're here for those who want to see it. Both the description, the nominal description of shoreline zones, and all the subsidiary definitions. This is all right from the statute. So you can look through that at your leisure, but you'll see some of the gray area. Some of it just doesn't apply to us. Like, we don't have a great pond, although Beaver Pond comes within a hair's breadth of the definition, but it doesn't meet the definition. The others are much smaller. We don't have our official map in here right now, but it looks nothing like that. It's what I'll
This is
say.
also wrong. The
Yeah.
color coding's backwards,
Yeah.
and it actually says that, yeah, this is. We asked the map company, because it was very hard to see before, we said, can you make the color better? And they did, and they screwed it up, and they won't fix it without charging us a whole bunch of money.
Oh, no.
So we were like, yeah, and we can't prove that it was right before. It's a long story.
I
Okay,
can.
okay.
I don't have it, if you have a like dated printout.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I do.
Good,
Okay.
we'd love it, cause I don't have one, and Ashley and I. are-
So as a starting point,
I know.
as a
Anyway,
starting point,
Okay.
is this map, this is actually a state beginning with a habitat map. So it exists. It is not strictly speaking a shoreline zone map, it's a riparian map. But they did indicate on this, the shoreline zones. As according to statutes, if you assume that all of the streams and ponds were part of the shoreline zone, which is a statutory, so, but this, you can see there's quite a difference between this, and this is an approximation of what an accurate shoreline zone map would actually look like. And when I say approximation is one, this includes every stream in the stream district. Not all of our streams have to be included in the stream district by the definition of the statute. In fact, the only one that probably has to be included is the Long Cove Creek. Because it's a confluence of stream from various wetlands. Squam Creek probably doesn't, and the others are all so much smaller, they don't have to be, and technically, we don't have a stream district in our ordinance, so at the moment, they don't all have to be included. But what this does show is the extents of the wetlands. So for instance, Squam or Meadow Pond is not a great pond, but if you incorporate the surrounding wetlands, as this map does, then it does fall under the statute as part of the resource protection district. And what this doesn't have as well, though, is it doesn't show the FEMA flood hazard zones, which are required by the statute for the rivers. Meaning the Sheepshead and the Sassagoula in the back rivers. And it doesn't show the forested wetlands, which I can show you separately. And I bring that up only because, let's see if this is the one. No, that's the hydrology. So that shows more of the stream.
That's FEMA.
And this is FEMA. Oh, reloading. And this is important.
I just sent it to you, April, by the way, and it is dated.
Awesome. Thank you.
So this is the flood hazard maps from FEMA. And most of the island isn't significantly affected, but you can see that both Long Cove Creek and Squam Creek are flood hazard zones. All the way, in the case of Long Cove, all the way up to Sorwell Road, almost all the way to Sorwell.
Interesting.
What makes it a flood hazard?
100-year flood.
The 100-year flood map.
So it's, you're measuring just what it would be on that 100-year flood.
Yeah, on the 100-year flood, and according to statute, that's supposed to be included, not in the stream district, but in the actual shoreline zone. So it actually should be a 250-foot zone. Not
In the
75.
resource protection, so, right?
No, it's part of the actual base definition
Oh,
of or if you look at the definitions under rivers, it says including flood zones. And the DEP goes even further, it specifies this map. But as you can see, that would
Interesting.
have a fairly significant impact on the size of our shoreline zone. Although there are really no residences at the moment within 250 feet of those areas. Because a lot of it's pretty steep terrain and very wet.
maybe my house though.
Well, your
Right
house,
over there.
your house definitely would fall. Probably already does, actually.
Yeah.
on that. So it doesn't affect a lot of existing houses, but it would affect potential. There's, I think, one house off of Cromwell Road that might be within the 250-foot zone.
So it would be 250 feet from this line of the 100-year flood zone.
That's what the
FEMA flood.
statute says.
Okay, got it.
Um,
And that has always been, yeah.
All right, so what I'm,
So what the final map would look like would be a lot like that first map I showed you, the beginning with habitat with this stuff added. And the one other thing I think I need to note is the statute does not require significant habitats to be in the shoreline zone, that's optional. But our current ordinance says they are included. Which I will. Here's another beginning with habitat. And that's what it looks like. You can ignore the brown horizontal because that's deer wintering. That has nothing to do with the shoreline zone.
Oh, these are the bird areas.
But the others are all bird areas.
Yeah, waiting birds.
And as you can see, there's quite a few of them. And the ordinance says that we include those.
But our map doesn't show it.
And and then if they're in the shoreline zone, then they're in the resource protection district. So there are 250-foot setbacks. So the gray areas relate to, I mean, we would have to eliminate that provision from the ordinance in order to take this out. I'm not adding it, I'm just saying it's there.
Yeah.
We don't have a stream district, so at some point, I think we probably should consider having one, but it's not in the ordinance. And right now, our approach to the June meeting was, we're not trying to add stuff, we're just trying to rectify the map in accordance with the statutes and what our ordinance has opted for, right? Leaving out all the optional stuff that we don't do. And then we were gonna approach any optional items for next year. Does that give you a better picture? I can assemble through our map using different layers.
yeah,
I can get pretty close, but I can't get everything on it, and that's why I need Lincoln County to tell me.
so what I'm seeing is, there's a checklist of things that still need to be done in order to present the town with a map that, is
Well, we could-
updated.
We can, with Lincoln County's help, they say they can help us, that they have the capacity to do it. The issue is gonna be whether they could, the time, I think Erin is basically telling April and I that she wants a little more time. But they can do it. The subsidiary question would be our choices have included us not. But as I said, if we limit it to the mandatory areas and the one optional area we've already got in the ordinance, That's reasonably straightforward.
Okay, so that could be done, you just need the technical help to do that from, the county,
The RPC, yeah.
And then we also we will have to do some notification of flood hazard zone for offices parcels that are not currently in the map.
right, do we have a sense as to, when they could help us do that, what, how much time?
Yeah, I mean, they're being pretty generous about it. They're willing to start meeting with us right away. In my mind, there's no way we do either the combined ordinance or the map in June.
Would you,
I tried to finalize that and just was like, oh, there's too much.
Right.
I got too much.
No,
And I think the map, doing both at once is kind of like, you go to the town and you're like, we need to overhaul this. Here's the two pieces, here's how they fit together. It makes more sense to me. We'll have more time to do it right and more time to properly advertise it, make sure people know what we're doing.
Defines resource protection and limit protection by law. So changing the map doesn't do anything for us. Until we also change the ordinance. To reference the map, which it should do anyway.
Right, yeah, I was just taking it one at a time, want to focus on the map, so, okay, so, and we'll talk generally approach and timing, but, clear, can't get that done.
Yeah,
in time.
for June.
Okay,
I'm hoping September. That seems like a good time for a special town meeting. It's still nice out. People are still here who might go away for part of the year. And that will give us 2 or 3 quiet months to really sit down with
right,
LC at RPC,
okay.
do it right.
Nick, thank you very much, that helped me, I think, visualize and kind of process what's involved, what we gotta do to get from point A to point B.
I do have concerns, which we don't have to discuss today. I do have some concerns about calling a special town meeting.
Yeah, let's transition, thank you very much,
But I can put that off to some other time. It's because
no, we're gonna talk about it right now.
Yeah,
We're gonna talk- Yeah, let me frame it, okay, we'll close the discussion about the map, that helped. And
does it help? It's,
yeah, and there's more to do, more to cover, and more to hear about,
take a look at those definitions in your free time. You'll see some of the gray areas.
yeah, well, we really, Staples Point, we don't wanna rush it, so we wanna have the remaining 90% of your presentation, at some point, so.
Can I bring up something about, the 250, just boundary from, the shoreline zone? Up until now, when we've been really looking into this, it feels like we've really been just enforcing this 75 foot. Right, and paying attention to the 75 foot.
I think we've been doing, I mean, Gary certainly,
Well, I mean, the shoreline zone, it's fairly permissive outside of that 75 foot buffer.
yeah,
But
It's not like a resource protection.
right,
If you're proposing to change this map and put all the wading bird habitat that's on the habitat maps into resource protection, we've got one hell of an argument today. That's destroying a lot of penguins.
I mean, the
Well, that's
problem
why I'm
is
saying it's in the ordinance.
it's already there.
yeah,
And
Yeah, or
So
maybe.
we would have to take that.
However, I'm not sure how accurate those habitat maps are. If you look at the one down on the end of, McCarty Cove Road, I mean, a lot of those new houses going in there on the end are tickling up against the edge of that. And I mean, it's like absolutely no hint of being wetland. So I'm not, even though just because they're on a map, doesn't mean that they're actually what the map says they are.
Yeah, that's one of the gray areas. That we need to think about.
yeah,
And that's what, I mean, that's why I made the comment earlier that as far as permitting is concerned, site visits are really critical. And a lot of this shoreline zoning criteria has somebody mentioned before, I think it was you, it's, the zoning is geography based. And it's all about how far from whatever resource
Yeah.
you're regulating is the project being proposed. You can't see that on a map, you've gotta be there, you've got boots on the ground.
Well, I understand, and what wildlife habitat is an optional inclusion anyway, it's not mandatory, which was my focus, the mandatory. I was just pointing out that our current ordinance says we do it.
Right, and it wasn't necessary at the time, but we opted in for some reason, right? That's what we found.
Well, I wasn't there.
Right,
So
right,
when
none of us were there.
when I get an application for those areas, I will defer people to the DEP because they do it. And I'll request a permit by rule from DEP as part of their application. As a matter of fact, there's a new driveway going in on that wetland I was just talking. And I did that, I made the permit by rule and they did, and DEP just, you know, they don't have any significant, they just sign off.
All right, good.
My
Let's-
question was, what comes under planning board review? Is it any development within 250 feet of the shoreline zone?
Oh, I don't know. You're looking
Well,
at me.
it depends, if it's resource protection, it's 250 feet, as Gary said, on the rest of the shoreline zone, it's really a 75-foot buffer. There's not a lot of restrictions beyond that.
Not restrictions, I'm saying, what comes to us?
If you
Our
look,
jurisdiction does cover everything in the shoreline zone,
So that's 250 feet.
correct?
So any development within 250 feet of any shoreline zone should come to us.
no,
Not streams.
no, I don't think so.
75.
If you look at the table of land uses, a lot of things in resource protection come before us, but I think it's kind of a patchwork where it goes. Is that right, Gary? I mean, we don't get everything in the shoreline zone. You permit all kinds of stuff in the shoreline zone.
You get, anything non-residential in the shoreline.
Or non-conforming.
Not even necessarily non-conforming. If somebody is proposed certain things in non-conforming structures come to planning, but like if somebody's proposing to put in a new foundation under a non-conforming structure, that comes to the planning board. If the 50% rule, if something's being deconstructed to.
Yeah, expansion or deconstruction.
Yeah,
Not even expansion necessarily.
The 30%?
I apologize, I was just thinking, you know, the shoreline zone ordinance jurisdiction. I think, you know, to answer your question, Demi, it would take some time to itemize each of the functional, things, you know, as to whether it's, because that's not going to be geographic defined, it's defined by the.
Yeah, the table of land uses really lays it out pretty good.
Okay, I'll go to this.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the big question, that's, what are we gonna do, for the town meeting? Nick, you've expressed some concern about, waiting, or you've expressed some concern about the timing. April proposed, recommending us, asking for a special meeting in September timeframe. And Nick, you had some concerns, and others may have, concerns, observations as well. So let's put it out on the table, what, I guess framing it, do we wanna wait, do we want to, postpone the omnibus and the map, and for that matter, I guess the only thing left would be the water ordinance. To do that all in September, at a special meeting in September. Nick, you had some reservations.
Well, I'm not questioning April with regard to the ability to get it done in June. I'm taking that for granted.
Yeah, that's not an issue, that, I think we're beyond that.
Let me just step back from, so this process last fall, when we were thinking about how the planning board could deal with tasks assigned to it under the comprehensive plan. And we quickly discovered two fundamental problems. One was the one April was working with, which was that the ordinances had accreted changes over the years that were no longer consistent with each other. And it was very confusing, not only to residences and homeowners, but to us. In trying to figure out what our role was in some of these things. And we really had to fix that first. And the second was what I just went through with the shoreline zone map and the inadequacy of the maps as they stand. And those two issues are interrelated, but they're both complicated issues, but they're also both fundamentally administrative issues. They don't need to be major changes to the intention of the ordinances. And in fact, over the winter, we sort of made a conscious decision that we would stick with the intention of the current ordinances, and we weren't going to change them. So we were minimizing. That's why I was focused on the mandatory elements of the shoreline zone and not the optional at this time, with the thought that then we could, as a planning board and then as a community, if we want to go further than that in future ordinance changes, we'd have the administrative stuff behind us. And then we can have more time to think about and promulgate thoughts about expanding protection areas especially for the groundwater issues. And pollution and stuff like that. My concern is that when you call a special town meeting, people's ears go up right away. And they're expecting something significantly different. Some proposal that isn't merely administrative. And some people will show up at the meeting ready to oppose it just on that basis. And it makes it, and so two things happen. One, it makes it much harder for us to make the case that this is just an administrative change. And then I think it makes it harder for us to come back next year with some really significant changes, and they're just going to say, well, why the hell wasn't that at the town meeting in the first place? But we're not prepared, I think, to present those kinds of changes in September. That needs more thought.
Yeah, and more.
And it's not preclusive, but that does concern me that we're gonna end up setting ourselves back if we go down that path. We're gonna make it more difficult to get the administrative stuff done, and then we have less room for coming back next year with significant changes if we.
So your thought then would be to wait until next year at the town meeting to do what we were gonna try to do in June.
Yeah.
And I'm
that's
stating
one of-
that without
one of the
any
thoughts on
judgment
the
or
table.
qualitative.
Either to wait till next year, do the administrative stuff and then have another special town meeting or to try to put all of that together in one town meeting next year when we're thoroughly prepared to do it.
Yeah.
Those are my concerns. I'm
Yeah.
not adamant.
No, I think
Just laying out
yeah.
my concerns.
I hadn't thought of that. That makes perfect sense to me. It really does.
And I don't think we need to figure this out now, right? Like, we're gonna sit down with the planning folks and we're gonna see how much work it takes. Maybe, it goes really well and we're super prepared and we're like, well, we're all ready in September. And we can sort of bat around this strategy then. Or we can find, oh boy, it's gonna take a little longer and it might make sense to wait till June. I feel like
think
if
if we're gonna bring in some of the optional elements, as Gary said, it's gonna take some preparation.
well, when I was mentioning the special town meeting possibility, I was picturing just the most straightforward
Yeah.
baseline changes. And I guess counterpoint strategy wise, the town meeting is always a slog, right? So like from the select board point of view, they're like, do we really have to do this gigantic thing right now? Everyone's impatient, hot at the end of the meeting, so my thought is it's kind of a tough time to really bring up a big issue that people are gonna wanna discuss a lot. And so maybe making it a special town meeting is a better service to residents, because then we can really explain what it is. People who are really interested could come, we could dedicate the whole meeting to it, it just gives you more space to give it the attention it needs, but I hear your point, yes. Special town meetings will perk people's ears up, but I feel like we can handle that.
And you can have those those pre-meeting informational hearings that you
Yeah.
usually do.
We would have to,
Yeah.
actually, we'd have to have a series, probably more than one hearing, because with the flood zones, there's a requirement I don't even know about. But with the map and with any zoning changes, you have to have special hearings, so there'd be a big lead up. You know, and people are gonna come to fight it, that's just the way it goes, but I think if you do a good job explaining things ahead of time, most of the people there will be at least open-minded.
As long as the proposals are reasonable.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Well,
thing
that's-
is, like, how do we proceed if we don't get this map updated? Because like, do we tell these people you're referring to the wrong map? I go to our map that you can't access
know.
and look at them here.
We're kind of hanging out there until we get what. we
Right,
get
which is
changed.
scary to
I
me
know.
because we do have development brewing and
But
MMA mentioned a moratorium, and I didn't look any further into it because I thought it over. You could do, I don't think you could do like home building, you know, that would be insane and people would go nuts. You maybe could do like commercial or subdivision moratorium, but that's not really what I'm worried about, really. Like, we do have ordinances that can handle those things. Our problem really is the zoning and the map.
yeah.
So I don't think a moratorium is gonna help us.
Mm.
My strategy right now is to hide that map from 1997. It is in my office as required, but it's hidden. And people can look at the tax map for now, even though that's wrong too. And it's been status quo for 20, 30 years. Well, probably was right at some point and it's gotten out of sync. But it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And we just have to cross our fingers, no one finds that map and sues us and.
Okay, well, I think, yeah, I think, there's a lot to that and to April's point as well, we don't have to decide tonight, other than we're not gonna do anything in June. I think that consensus is already there. Unless somebody wants to push back on it. And then then the question is, then do we try to do something in September? So let's think about that, chew on it and talk about it, maybe make a decision at our next meeting in June. Keep doing whatever you guys are doing, obviously. Don't slow that down, but we can decide. And to Gary's point, you know, the more time we have to educate and share with folks and generate some discussion about it, the better. Because whether we do it, you know, by a series of informational meetings or other ways, the more familiar people are with what we're trying to do, the less dramatic it will be when we actually put it on the table for votes, so. Okay.
So are we suggesting that meeting in September be purely for the cleanup, the administrative stuff?
I think let's just leave it open right now, that's a proposal.
I'm in favor in just doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know, what we're suggesting, Demi, is that we make that decision at our meeting in June.
yeah, and it's,
Uh,
in terms of the wells thing.
I would just soon float the well.
So I'm gonna make
Sorry.
What do you mean
one,
by that? What do you mean by that?
okay, so John had suggested
Just,
these.
just
two
carry it
meetings.
on with, just include it with everything else we're doing on the land use.
So
Does it
I
mean-
have one concern here, okay. When we had talked about initially doing all this in June, the issue was how do you pass a unified ordinance and then amend it,
Right.
right? That's kind of messy and a little legally questionable.
Yes.
So I was kind of relieved to take the unified ordinance off June, because I was like, well, we can do all the other stuff without
Right.
having to worry about that. So Susan's thing, fine, we'll just amend our two existing ordinances. John's thing on the wells, we could do the same thing at this June meeting, no problem. If we push that and try to do it at the same time with the unified ordinance and the map, there's two issues. I think the first one is that you're trying to amend an ordinance you haven't officially passed yet because the meeting hasn't adjourned,
Right.
right? So that's legally
Maybe I,
questionable.
maybe I can help you. My thought is to include it on a laundry list of ordinance changes.
But I think I just wanna make sure we get clear on this, cause if John, if it makes sense to do it now, tonight's the deadline, right? So I just wanna make sure we're
No.
clear about that decision we're gonna make,
Right.
right? So I think it would not be great for us when we present unifying the ordinance and the map to try to tack on more
I agree.
policy or real changes, right?
I agree.
And so I think the Wells thing would be better either now, this June, or next June, separately from whenever we do the unified
Let's
thing.
talk about it again, let's open up conversation on it.
I mean, I think it would be fine to do it in June if you're ready, like, I think it's ready.
But I'd like to
Still
still,
some questions.
yeah, I still
Yeah.
wanna discuss the wells.
Right.
As it's
Yeah,
written.
if we all think it's ready to go, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah, as the proponent of that, my recommendation or my proposal to the group would be to cycle it
Wait on it,
till next June when we're talking about the substantive ones.
the hood.
But if folks want to go ahead and tee it up this June, I'll
I see.
obviously support whatever the board decides.
Could I ask what the justifications of that proposal is? Is it based solely on the Spray Pits recommendation?
No, it flows most immediately from the most recent water study. And the recommendations were made there. They're
John, on that,
consistent with the comprehensive plan.
yeah, I don't remember seeing, a strong recommendation for an ordinance change. In the most recent study, and the Conservation Commission, so they didn't. We weren't advocating any ordinance changes.
We probably don't have time to debate it tonight, but it's there, it's in the water study. In fact, she went so far as to specifically criticize our ADU ordinance because it did not have the water protection provisions that were already written into the site review plan and the other one, I can't remember.
Stratix, what the Stratix study, or no?
No, our ordinances already have pretty robust water protection requirements. Just not in the building code, not in the shoreline zoning code. We have it in the site plan review,
I see.
and I can't remember what the
Subdivision.
subdivision, thank you, yeah. So she expressly called that out, that our ADU unit was defective because it didn't have any water protection. We debated that at the time and said, well, let's wait until we get the study and then raise it then. We have the study now 2 years old, almost 2 years old. And so Gary, to answer your question, it was the more recent water study.
Yeah, I didn't really see reading the results of that study. I didn't really see a.
Yeah, and there are basically two things going on there. One is the buffer, how much buffer. But the second one, really driven by the study as much as anything else, was we need to know what we have as a town. We need to know we've got wells, we need to know where they are, so that we can collect data and continue to collect data about any potential problems. We don't want to wait until it's too late. So
I just foresee a whole host of unintended consequences and problems with creating that 200 foot separation zone.
Yeah, and
You're bumping up against in the state plumbing rules, there's a whole, set of variances that are granted at the state level for setbacks, and it's all based on, well depth and casing depth and sleeving. And if the town, aside from that, I mean, if you go to any of these shoreline sites that are pulling permits now, I mean, the pristine, gently sloping areas to develop on the island are pretty well built up. And you're starting to see some pretty rugged sites. And if you're asking somebody to, the one place on your property you can get a leach field, now you've got to site a well 200 feet from that, which might be, over a mountain and down a hill, which is gonna cause you to blast a trench, to get down below frost depth. Is the blasting gonna cause more problems than having a well 100 feet from the septic system? I just.
Yeah, no question. Well, there's a number out there, and the scientists have given us their number. We decide what we're gonna do with it. Even with the 100 foot rule, it isn't really a rule, but it's in the regulations. There's a provision there that says, for the very reasons you just described, the homeowner and the well driller can decide to ignore the 100 foot rule. It's there.
No, they can get a variance provided they take extra precautions.
Well, yeah, I'm just reciting to you what it says. It says that they can agree to, ignore is not the right word, but to accept it and not follow the 100 foot rule. They don't have to even follow the 100 foot rule. So,
Who's the
So-
review authority?
What rule are you?
Well drillers are
Are you-
licensed
are you-
by the state of Maine.
Are you talking about the well drillers rules or? Are you
Yeah.
talk-
the well, that's the only place the 100 foot,
No, you're wrong.
yeah, it is.
It's in the state plumbing.
Well
It's
drillers
not
are
in the
licensed
statute.
by the state of Maine and they have to register every
Yeah.
well that they drill. And it's on a state data, every well that a licensed well driller
know,
drills on
but
a
that's-
state database.
But we talked about that before. The only enforcement on that is through the state commission. The town doesn't have any eyes on that.
The only other town that I know of on coastal Maine that requires a permit for their wells is Freeport, and we are not Freeport.
Well, again, we'll debate it. There'll be more discussion, but,
There will, undoubtedly.
And I would just like to offer a comment, I think that the most recent study in state, phenomenal, we're all behind. Trying to sustain our water quality and water supply. What I'm uncomfortable with is taking a professional's recommendations. That creates this 200 foot setback, and then I don't know the consequences on the lots in town that are small.
Or future lots, our current
Future lots.
minimum lot size is 1.5 acres, which I kind of plotted out before, which makes this almost impossible.
So I would like us to be aware of the impact on the town, of this.
Another point is the 200 foot setback that originated with the 2000 Stratex report that worked its way into the comprehensive plan and then subsequently get followed up. It was specifically for wells that were downgraded.
Downgrade, that's right.
Of septic systems. And
Yeah.
now this proposal would be any well. And it just, I mean, trying to, that's why I asked you if you had any other your reasons. I think it would be useful, because you're not the first planning board to look at this. Back in 2002, Tom Jacoby was the chairman of the planning board, and he sent a letter to Stratex asking for technical guidance on a technical rationale and their reason for proposing the restrictions that they proposed. The letters in the town Stratex file, I think it would be useful for you to look at their answers.
Yeah.
Because it's not quite as persuasive as one might think.
yeah. Well, and all of that is important. we have the expert that did the most recent study, and she's still available to do that kind of thing, to provide that kind of guidance on it. But I think more than anything else, and I guess this is where I'm coming from, more than anything else, it's been over 20 years since that recommendation was made. It was in the comprehensive plan, and nobody's done anything with it. And what I would like to do is have this conversation in the community and put it to, ultimately put it to a vote at a town meeting. After everybody's had a chance to thrash it out and educate themselves. What I'm troubled with is the decision is not being made by the community, it's being made in little pockets of conversation around this kind of table. I think we need to put it out there and let the community decide what they want to do.
But isn't the point of a planning board is for us to have a consensus and suggest these ordinances to the select board, then that way make their way to the community? We are representatives of the community.
That's what we're doing. That's
Right.
exactly what we're doing. For the first time in 20 years.
Right, but the straight text again was downgrade, like we're forgetting that there's a condition of the well being downgrade from the septic, and that was the condition of the comprehensive plan in the straight text report. The other thing
That's
about.
an argument, but I think there's an argument on the other
But
side.
it's in print, and there's the other thing about the LD 2003 with the ADU, the reason why we didn't put a 200 setback between ADUs and for, between wells and septics for ADUs is for to not be prohibitive for mother-in-law suites, which is the most affordable version of an ADU. So that someone who has a conforming well and septic setback can then therefore not have a mother-in-law suite because their well and septic setback that is currently conforming at 100 feet was in 200 feet, then that would be prohibitive of a mother-in-law suite. This is what we talked about a year ago. So that is why we did that. I understand where I do believe in the heart of it, but it just does not fit our current lot minimums. And it actually becomes I don't feel comfortable pushing this forward as a board, or I wouldn't suggest it because it comes forward as almost prohibitive or making it more difficult for people to build homes or have a mother-in-law suite or, and I'm all for responsible development, but this just seems just a little bit prohibitive, in my opinion.
Well, I think it sounds like we need more time to talk it over.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think I like the thought of maybe doing this next June. We'll have a little more time for education and like maybe presenting a suite of reasonable, like finding the balance between freedom to develop and protecting the resource in a way that makes sense for the island.
I guess what I'm not hearing is if there's any objection. I mean, if you left it 100 feet, would you still object
What do you mean object to?
the ordinance?
I do not want to permit everybody's well. And or
Why?
is the there was before in the first version, it was that the planning board had to approve of all wells. Is that still?
Take that away.
Okay, take that away. So now it's just a permit, a building permit for a well?
Yeah. Just think about it. We're
I'll
not
think about
making a
it.
decision
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, the one thing I took was the original, sort of data copy.
That's what I want.
You're, by recording it, we have the record of that well in this office. If that's consistently available, because they're supposed to be registering at the state, then I don't know that we need that.
There's no way to know unless you do it yourself. In other words, there's no way for us to know whether or not we're getting it to the state because we can't enforce it.
I thought I had heard somewhere, and I don't remember, it may have been, I want to say it was from Carol, who did the study, was that database is not complete or dependable because there is some voluntary aspect to it. So I think she was saying there's an issue there, and she did put in her recommendation require submittal of well information to obtain a building permit. And I believe the rationale was to fill that hole that is left by the state,
Mhm.
but I might be misquoting her. I don't know who else would have said it.
That's that's.
I
remember that.
I talked to a well driller earlier today, and he is a part of a larger company. He's like, yes, we register all the wells. We're a certified well driller. Not every well driller does. So there is that.
Mhm.
So are you saying more of it? And we can talk about it more later, but are you saying, I would be comfortable with it being maybe part of the building permit, not a separate permit in within itself.
Right, no,
Yeah.
I don't think we need to proliferate forms, but like a checkbox or something.
Okay.
We do have a well form. That I think was developed to do this. But I don't know what the administrative process was supposed to be. It's supposed to go in building packets.
Yeah.
I found it, it's in my office.
I think you have to also be really sensitive to where people are at. I mean, yes, some people were giving their well information, say, you know, come on my property, test my well, know everything about my water source.
Mhm.
Not everybody is like that.
Mhm.
And not everybody on Westport Island is like that. And water isn't ever difficult resources we're continuing. And maybe some people are not comfortable having their water resources be cataloged or databased or,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying that's correct, but I'm just saying there's other sentiments out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, I just keep coming back to, at some point in time, we have to put it on the table for the community to make a decision.
But, do we?
Yeah, I think we do. That's what
But
we're
I'm
here for.
saying that that's our decision as a board.
This is not a smoke filled room where we make decisions for the town. We're making decisions about, what to put in front of the town and.
As a group.
As a group,
Yeah.
right. So more to discuss.
And if somebody wants to go do it on their own, they can do that too.
Yeah, well, that's true. Anyone can propose a warrant item and anyone, even if the select board's like, we're not putting that on the warrant, you could start a petition. So there's a lot of paths. But I think it's a very valuable and meaningful path for it to get through the planning board that helps it get passed at the meetings.
All right, well, we know what we're not gonna do, so let's proceed. The other items on the agenda, let me just highlight them and see if there's anything that we absolutely need to talk about tonight. The Russell Phipps property proposal,
Yeah, is he coming? Come in?
we don't have any.
It's just an email, I think.
Oh,
Was it proposal?
I didn't,
yes.
yeah, I printed out the emails. I honestly haven't read them too thoroughly.
Was he not gonna come in then? I misunderstood.
Yeah, we don't have it scheduled for any action.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you would need to submit something, right? I mean,
I don't know what property it is or
yeah,
why we would be looking at it.
I
Yeah, be a site review, wouldn't it?
yeah, I forwarded it to the select board because it's the Phipps property, which
Right.
someone had talked about giving to the town, but I guess that's off the table. So I was like, well, by the way, this might be happening.
That was when actually the history committee had met with Russell Phipps and went down there. And in that context, we
Anyone else
understood
need
that
this? You need this?
it was his intention to leave the property to the town. Didn't want to leave it to Kelt because he had some trouble with Kelt not paying
Property taxes, all right, all right.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't know that we ever got a copy of his will. And the will would be the controlling document.
Well, it's on the market.
Yeah, I
We've had
saw.
some inquiries.
Yeah.
And,
Is that the land that abuts Beaver Pond?
Meadow Pond.
Meadow Pond.
Yeah.
Oh,
And Gary gave him a very thorough response. He came in, he talked to me, and I had already heard from another developer about this, and Gary had already emailed that developer the lowdown. So I just forwarded it to this guy and was like, this is the deal from our CEO. And then he wrote directly to Gary to sort of present his idea.
mhm.
And Gary wrote back. But I think he hasn't done anything. He's
Okay.
thinking about it. He hasn't purchased the property. If he did, he kind of wanted to get a feel for what he could do if he purchased it. But I thought it was kind of a nice proposal if it can't be preserved. Then
Who's the person?
Joe Whedon, I don't know.
Does he have any It's a nice idea to have a vision, but does it actually have the capability to put the vision into?
Yeah.
I don't know, I didn't get references, Jeff.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah.
because I mean, frankly, if with that property, I would expect it to be purchased by a developer. So who wants to turn it into house lots?
It's all in resource protection, John.
Oh, so we can't do that?
No.
Oh, well, thank you.
No.
That's the reality check.
Yeah.
Gary, any updates
Your
on
email.
Deb Williams property
Yeah.
that you want to share?
Yeah, I've been talking to her and she's still struggling with her dandelion, her contractor. He's promised her he'd go back to DEP in Augusta and get the property permit and do revegetation plan. Not happening. She's ordered a bunch of plants from Lincoln County Soil and Water District.
No, that's okay.
And I told her, look, you've gotta get a plan together and you've gotta get to the planning board for that. I actually think for before you start. Just throwing money and time. So, she sent me forwarded me an email today where she signed up for a class.
Wasn't the email.
Staking
I
plants.
think, okay, yeah, okay.
I'm getting to the point where I'm gonna have to issue a formal notice of violation and
Yeah.
present the timeline again.
All she has to do is fill,
Prime planting season now coming.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
oh. Doesn't she, maybe I'm misunderstanding, I thought she just had to submit a permit form and pay $75 or whatever.
No,
No,
she needs it after the fact permit for that retaining wall.
yeah,
And I mean, Delano just, cause last year, or the year before last, I had given her a permit to take down 2 trees that were
Yeah.
laying into the cove.
yeah,
So those were removed. And in the course of that conversation, she was talking about rebuilding this seawall.
yeah,
And I was like, well, hold on, that requires pretty extensive permitting.
Yeah.
Board. The next thing I know, spring of last year, I get a call that there's heavy trucks running unposted.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Delano was down there with mountains of boulders, the whole shoreline is completely excavated. So.
And then he came here. Went out.
we came here.
All right, well, appreciate all you're doing, that's taken up a lot of time, so appreciate you doing that.
Debbie's.
I know.
Nothing to show.
Hand that over to her daughter, to handle.
Yeah, her daughter and son are helping her with it, but, I mean, I think their focus is trying to get Delano to that. Good. It's not working.
Yeah.
I can sense that she's on the line for the negligence.
Yeah. Does she need the DEP permit before she can submit the towns after the fact permit?
Well, I mean, this board's policy has been. Anything that requires the permit, have that permit in hand when you show up here.
Yeah.
That hasn't always been the case, but it is now, and that's what I tell people.
Yeah. So the hang up is she's trying to get Delano to get the state permit. And she can't submit her permit to us until he does that, and he's not.
Apparently.
Yeah, does she have like a deadline? Like, does the town set a deadline? Does the planning board, or is it just kinda?
No, it would be me sending a notice of violation with a time. I did that last year.
Yeah.
The time I came and went.
Let's see. Yeah, it's tough, cause like you don't wanna be unkind to a person with good intention,
No.
kind of a bad situation.
Yeah.
Got burned by that.
Well-
Each of their own.
Yeah, the person that obviously dropped the ball is just being, just ignoring us, so that's the real offender there. Has anybody heard anything more about Sheila Weaver? She wanted to do the tax split deal.
So I think where Ashley left that.
This was somebody that wanted to change the boundary in order to eliminate the tax burden, similar to the.
I think she wanted to give a piece of that land to a relative of hers, but it has already been subdivided.
Right.
So Ashley sent an email to loop the planning board in. And connect us with Sheila, I guess is what she goes by. So they want to split a portion of her parcel. They have had a survey completed. However, I let them know because this lot has already been split, the lot would be treated as a subdivision and they would need planning board approval. Not familiar with the process or documentation. Could one of you reach out and let Sheila know the process? So I think it was in our fit to reach out to her. Did you ever talk to her or did anybody ever?
I remember thinking,
I'll go back. I think I sent her an email and invited her to our meeting. And,
Right, that sounds familiar.
all right, well, I'll follow up on that. The annual committee report, draft I shared, I don't know if folks got a chance to look at that, had any additions, deletions, or, because you need to give that to the select board
Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God, yeah,
this week.
this needs to go to the printers next week and. It's not there yet.
No pressure.
Oh, God, I love this time of year. I honestly haven't read it all.
This is the kind of, don't look at it tonight, look at it at home, and if anybody has any edits, changes they wanna make, just let me know and I'll, send them out draft to people. This isn't something we really need to vote on.
Yeah, the one thing I looked at was saying it'd be nice to have, something that's quantitative. Like how many applications or things could we do? The Charles would have to go back and into the minutes to collect that information.
I was purposely vague because there aren't.
But it's just actually, in terms of keeping track of tenant activity, how much do we do? So that's, I understand, and I wasn't saying I would sort of go back to this, try to figure out what those were.
Be careful. If the town finds that there are a few applications.
we all be fired or
That's right,
something, yeah.
that's right.
Oh,
Put us out of
We just
business.
got kicked off from visiting peers now, so what are we?
Yeah,
yeah.
debating words, that's.
Yeah.
Gary, you listed out your permits
You
for the
can
select
list
board
the
for
names
the
of the
town
board
report.
members.
Do you list out the peers too, or is that?
Even though
Yeah.
we're asking.
Set
for
public
public law, but
The old way, I used to
I do want the
categorize
history of the
categorize
report here.
permits by type.
Right,
How many sheds, how many barns, how many driveways, how
Yeah.
many piers, you know? And then you or the select board or somebody said, oh, it was because of Mario.
right.
He wanted it, he wanted
He
the.
wanted to know why it hasn't been in past town reports and we're like, I don't know, sure, Mario. So, yeah. Mario wants to see, if you look at the plumbing permits, it's
Yeah.
listed out name, price, what it was.
Huh.
So Mario wanted the same format for the building permits and
Oh,
Gary
geez.
obliged.
You're kind.
Yeah. Does it include the piers now in that list? Not categorized, but are they in there, or should we
Yeah,
put them in our
The
report?
piers are-
Okay,
No.
they're in your report.
How many open building permits do you have right now?
We could just say, see Gary or.
Yeah, there.
How many open permit, you mean permits that are pending?
Yeah.
Oh, just picked up 3 more,
Oh, yeah.
I'd say 8. 3 new houses on.
So picking back up.
I have one quick question, I guess under new business. So as these, state notices come in for pier rent floats, I used to not pay attention, I'm like, "Oh, great, who cares?" No, I file it, but I've kind of been paying more attention because I know they're supposed to eventually come to us, so I just sort of put a pin in it, I sent it to John, I sent it to Gary, but I don't have a sense of like when we should expect the town permit, and if it doesn't come through, should we nudge them and say, hey, by the way, like, how long does it usually take the state to process this stuff? Do you have any sense
6
there?
months to a year.
Really? Oh, wow, I guess that's what, Flycatcher was saying.
NERPA, the NERPA permits.
Yeah, there's all different kinds, like Ted had to do a DACF, which was the submerged lands lease. So that's how I heard about Ted's Edie Forbes one, I guess. And then some of them are NRPA, some of them are something else. It's all these different
Yeah,
state
yeah.
agencies, and we always get the notices. But is there a point where we should,
No,
no?
Okay.
Gary's not worried about it.
They'll come
I'll
when they
come when
come.
they're ready.
Yeah,
All right, any other business? Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one thing.
Oh.
I've been having some conversations with a representative of Verizon Wireless. And they're looking at putting some infrastructure down on Post Office Road. Where the existing tower is.
Okay.
The existing tower doesn't suit their needs, so they're. Thinking about putting in an independent freestanding tower. It wouldn't be a guide tower, it would be just, I wasn't completely clear on the process, but it sounds like drilling a big hole and sticking a pole in the ground and just having it freestanding. And, I've gone through the site plan requirements with him. And he would like to have a pre-application meeting next month. But he would like to have it, because he's traveling from. I think Massachusetts, he would like to have the pre-app by Zoom. And he has. Some sort of standard literature that they use in their application process. That he would like to provide the board. He wanted to do it, he wanted to present it, during the Zoom call. Electronically, so he could like use a pointer. I told him I'm not sure if the town has the capability to do that, so I thought I would run it by you guys and see what you thought.
Would this be like? Site plan?
They would use site plan.
Gotcha, so all the abutters would have to know as well, cause it's new commercial.
So what he's looking for in June is just to give you the
Yeah.
10,000
Yeah.
foot review. And explain what they're thinking of, and then you would like to come in person. To allow it.
I'd like to have copies of what he wants to present ahead of time,
Yeah.
so that we can all look at it.
Everything's print out.
But we're talking, but one of the, maybe it's just that he gets control of the screen. Which is easy. It's just giving him.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if you could project onto the slide.
Like this
so.
way.
Will this do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
comfortable
fine.
with that, as long as what Dick said is just having full printouts of everything beforehand.
Alright, I think what I'll do
That
is
one thing.
I'll tell him we'll put him on the agenda for June via Zoom. I'll give him, John, your contact information, and he can forward any free information with you, or you can distribute,
Perfect.
see where that goes.
Sounds good. Is it your impression it's gonna be taller than what they have now?
So it's
Really taller?
It's a cell tower.
How will I know how to get home if there's no red beacon?
There'll be a beacon on.
Okay,
Yeah.
excited. Maybe I'll have better cell service. I have to stand in a certain part of the house.
Yeah, you'll see that beacon before you come across.
Yeah.
I assume we have a regulation that talks about that.
Cell service.
Cell tower.
Over on the.
Well,
east,
yes,
right?
kind of.
Get in,
There's
put the,
infrastructure.
Places on.
Mary Ellen, what do you have?
Here next, are you guys meeting next week?
Next Wednesday.
Okay, so I'm gonna be out of town, doing Boston with my sister, so somebody else can scribble.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So, yeah,
We'll do that.
Yeah.
took someone you could buy.
Do we have a forum for next Wednesday? We should just make sure.
I'm here.
I'm here.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm here.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that'll be
Good.
short.
I could do this if you want.
Keep it short and sweet.
Question, are we gonna have meetings on the 14th and 22nd where we're not pushing this, those are for the select board hearings to present.
Yeah, we won't have
Let me
any.
think for a minute. Let me think. I don't think we have anything.
Susan's is the only one that would be on there.
Last year we had that ordinance for the,
Right,
Right,
and then.
yeah, we won't have any presentations.
because they're not zoning changes. I think it was only because. Yeah. I'll mull it over, but I
So
just
Susan's-
think basically Susan's will be on the draft warrant. And we wouldn't have been required to have a hearing for that because it's not changing zoning for anybody.
Right,
I don't think, but let me make sure.
Okay.
And if we do need to have a hearing, we can
Yeah,
schedule.
that's good. Okay.
But that would mean you all, we wouldn't have to have the board there. A quorum of the board.
I can't wait for the first complaint about somebody using synthetic herbicides.
I don't get
Roundup.
I think this is mostly
All
gonna.
right, any other business?
Yes.
Move to adjourn? All in favor?
I.
Great job, everybody. Thank you.
You're, yeah, I just was aware of this. Yes, so.
Where?
No.
Okay, so this is the boring.
Yes.
Why does the catcher still before the bottom?
Yeah.
Oh, I know, I told her to change it. It's ridiculous, I told her. So it's I didn't.
Like, it's kind of embarrassing for them, because that's like 2 years old or something.
Going for no.
Okay, all right,
You're referring to the board of the approval form, you should get the chair.
I know, I'm thinking, all right, well, we'll say we just go for the piers.
Well, we can if we want to. Only if we want to though. Maybe in January we won't.
I'll only go if you guys help me, yeah. All right, this in your box, okay.
Guess I should stop recording. Hang on.
So I
I'm making our little conversation here.
Fresh.
That's great. Thanks for thinking of this.
I don't.
Thanks, John.